And you are on the platform, which is, of course, an independent and totally privately owned and totally New Zealand-owned media outlet using new media to engage with New Zealanders and bring you stories and viewpoints that A, reflect what you think, and B, are outside the mainstream media and legacy media's taxpayer-funded and often highly biased narratives. You can support us by downloading our app, going to our website, making a donation, or becoming a subscriber, a Platform Plus subscriber, which allows you not only to view and listen to our live content, but to time shift it, to pick out the stuff you like, to download our content and listen offline. We don't just have talkback radio and interviews, we also have written articles, which we'll be expanding soon. And we have different tiers of membership, including Gold, which for $2,000 a year gives you a free yearly subscription and 2 free functions a year with the platform team and other Gold members, other special members. You can become a Gold member. You simply text, no, you don't. You email hello@theplatform.kiwi. Or you could go to the next level. You can become a platinum member for $5,000 a year, 2 free subscriptions, 4 free functions organised by the platform per year, and some merch. And if you're platinum, you can come on with me, Sean Plunket, once a year and take part in the Free Speech Fridays. There is the sales spiel. Get on to it, folks. I guess we've got a theme this morning, which is about this issue of international relations and Israel. And we had the Anglicans and a Catholic priest wearing nappies outside Nicola Willis's office. They've given up their noble cause now, and they're back in their vestries or whatever they're called. But this issue is coming, well, some would say coming to a head. Other people say they don't care. And we've got to make a decision in a couple of weeks at the United Nations whether or not, and God, I don't think it'll make any difference, we recognise the state of Palestine, which doesn't exist, and we endorse the 2-state solution while Israel fights for its life. Also over the weekend, and I'm not clear whether it went over the Harbour Bridge or not, for the John Mintos of this world, it didn't. It didn't go over the Harbour Bridge. It seems to me that support for the tea towel wearers and the cool kids and the Helen Clarks is waning in New Zealand. And many people taking a stronger stance against that attitude, one of them being the ACT MP Simon Court, who is not changing his position. He's been consistent in his support for the Jewish community in New Zealand around this issue ever since October the 7th. He joins us by video link now. Simon, nice to talk again. How are you?
Good morning, Sean. Very well, thanks. And thanks for having me on the platform.
All right. You said something over the weekend about those protesters. What was it that got the room so abuzz that you said?
Well, Sean, I just said what so many people are thinking, that dressing up in terrorist chic and marching and protesting, chanting for ethnic cleansing while saying you care isn't really that caring. And for these people marching on the weekend, when they go to work on Monday morning, and they might proudly tell their workmates or fellow students, I went on this protest, they probably don't realise that most of the other New Zealanders actually want to see the war end with Hamas releasing the hostages and disarming and being ejected from the territory of Gaza, if they care at all about something going on the other side of the world, because most Kiwis actually have other things that are a higher priority for them. So look, that was the point. I put out a post on X, got a few people upset when I just pointed out the fact that, putting a tea towel on your head and marching, calling for ethnic cleansing isn't that kind.
Well, Carmel Sepuloni did it. You sit in the Parliament where Green Party members do it with monotonous regularity. Now, you're part of the coalition government, right, as an ACT MP. Now, was it the Prime Minister said that wasn't helpful?
Oh, well, look, I was just trying to help and was just trying to help point out to some of those people who, I used to be friends with, sadly, that I understand they care about the civilian suffering in Gaza. We've seen some awful scenes, and it's a war zone, and civilians caught in a war zone are always going to come off worse. But it's not helpful to pretend that marching in Auckland, wearing terrorist garb in Parliament is going to change anything. Labor put out a press release, and their MPs and even their leader subscribed to it, calling for all of their supporters to attend the march. They didn't mention once the fact that Hamas attacked Israel on October 7, killed over 1,000 people, including young people at the Nova Festival, brutally assaulted, murdered, raped people, dragged women's dead bodies back to Gaza while civilians cheered. Labor didn't mention that. All they said was we should sanction Israel for taking military action to try to recover the hostages and suppress the terrorist entity. These people have completely become detached from reality. They clearly don't care what most Kiwis care about.
But the UN tells me today that it's a genocide, Simon.
Well, the UN Human Rights Council, Sean, is made up of countries that, you or I would be afraid to travel in. Countries like Sudan, which has actually participated in a genocide against its own people. So why on earth would New Zealand take any notice of an organisation like that?
All right. Once again, though, the Prime Minister said your comments were not helpful. What do you say in response to the Prime Minister?
Well, based on the messages that I've received, both direct messages and the comments I've seen flooding into social media, I think a lot of people finally appreciate that, I have called it for what it is. Playing terrorist dress up on the weekend and, chanting about Palestine shall be free from the river to the sea, which is essentially...
So you're saying to the Prime Minister, rack off. I'll say what I like. I believe this.
Oh, look, I certainly will not stop calling it how I see it. There are lots of there's lots of opportunity for people to chip in, but in the end, the only way this conflict ends is with Hamas being disarmed, leaving the territory. The hostages are freed. This is Israel's existential fight for survival. The best thing New Zealand could do is stand with Israel right now.
What if we don't? What if in 2 weeks Winston Peters goes to the UN and says we recognise the two-state solution, we reward Hamas, we reward the militants for their murderous attacks on October the 7th? Would you stay part of a government that did that, Mr. Court?